things will happen.
Michael Patrick Shields is on the air.
Good morning, world.
Good morning, Michigan. A very pleasant Thursday to you. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across the state of Michigan. This is the Great American Smokeout Day, the day the American Cancer Society asks you to drop the cigarettes for just one day. Try it, see what it's like. That's what they're asking you to do, and we'll talk about that. It's an annual tradition on this program. And even more important than that is the tradition we're going to celebrate coming up shortly at 1 past midnight on the third Thursday of every November from little villages and towns. Over 1 million cases of Beaujolais Nouveau begin their journey from a sleeping France to Paris for immediate shipment to all parts of the world, including the state of Michigan. And the banners proclaim the good news, Le Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé. The Beaujolais Nouveau has arrived. It's one of the most frivolous and animated rituals in the world, particularly the wine world. And by the time it's all over, 65 million bottles, that's half of the region's total annual production, is going to be distributed and drunk around the world. It's a worldwide race to be the very first to serve this new wine of the harvest. And in doing so, it's been carried by motorcycle and by balloon and by truck and by helicopter. And when they used to have the Concorde jet, it was shipped around on the Concorde. It's been on elephant runners and rickshaws to get to its final destination. And realize it's amazing. Just weeks before this wine was a cluster of grapes in a vineyard. So it's very young and very new. And an expeditious harvest, a rapid fermentation, and speedy bottling. It's all ready at midnight, and by French law, it can be released no earlier than the third Thursday of November. And so, this morning, I have to believe, since it's so early, we're going to be the first people in the United States of America to taste the Beaujolais Nouveau. I will tell you, though, that the news is reporting that in Japan, they've already been tasting it. France, of course, they're awake now, too, and in London. 40 million bottles will be drunk in the next 3 weeks. So we're going to be the first in America, but they beat us to the punch because of the date line in other parts around the world. We'll learn more about Beaujolais Nouveau. And what it means to me, really, is that Thanksgiving is here because it's next week, and that's when it happens. And so the holidays are upon us, and everybody can use a little fun, a little break, a little frivolity. And so that's what it'll be this morning. We'll be tasting wine with you. Get you started today. Before we get started, Gary Austin, our anchorman, is going to tell us all about the real news. And I think the big story, Gary Austin, is that yesterday at my book launch party at Dr. Christine's office, the book is called Invite Yourself to the Party. And Governor Granholm was the first person to walk through the door for the party.
Great.
Isn't that something?
That's terrific.
And
she was very excited to be there and was excited for you and for her husband because he was there signing books also.
Yeah, his book's called Be Real. But invite yourself to the party. And you know what we toasted Governor Granholm for, Gary?
What was that?
She signed yesterday Sunday liquor sales into law.
Well,
just hours before she came to the party.
Now that's worth celebrating.
That's what I said, and we all
right.
had a nice toast to her. And I said to her, Governor Granholm, this is your true finest legacy. And she said, "Oh, please don't say that." Matt Rhodes is with us, by the way, Gary. We should get reaction from him. He's the owner of Dusty Cellar and the tap room and the wine bar. What do you think? Sunday liquor sales finally passed by the governor.
I think it's great. I'm glad to see that common sense prevailed. And after it got shot down the first time, they worked out the details and got it worked out. I think it's great.
And you can sell also, I guess, on Christmas Day if you want to, if you're open on Christmas Day.
Yeah, that's not going to affect that many establishments. Not many are open, but those that are, especially the restaurants that are open, I think it's a nice thing for the guests.
And it's a $160 permit, Gary, if you want your establishment to sell liquor on a Sunday morning from beginning at 7 a.m. That $160 permit is nothing, right?
Well, for most people, yeah, that'd be made up in the first couple weekends.
Yeah,
Nominal.
the upshot here, guys, is that 160 times a zillion. That's what the state's hoping for, and all that money ends up in the state coffers, and we know the state really needs that dough.
Well, so we had a little fun with her about that yesterday, the
Very
governor.
good.
She was in very good form.
Michael Patrick,
yeah?
I had no idea you could speak French so well.
Thank you.
You're very good at that.
Le Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé.
Listen to that, boy. He's like a native Parisian.
Merci, monsieur.
Very, very good. They're going to be talking money on Wall Street today, and a lot of money. You know why? General Motors It's going to happen. We've been waiting for a long time for this. And
Lay
today
IPO.
is the big day, yes. I like that. Lay IPO. Very good. $33 per share. The automaker is offering $20.1 billion worth of stock, and you can bet, guys, they're really hoping that stock just gets gobbled up really fast, just like
Mon
you guys are
Dieu.
going to be gobbling up that wine.
Bon chance to the investors.
Yes, very, very good. Hey, we do
I'm going to
have
run out pretty soon.
we do have a report here, guys, about the hubbub with the bailout. Remember the Chrysler and the GM business, and there were a lot of folks. I mean, on opposite sides on this around here. Most in Michigan were saying, this is vital. Got to do this. Government's got to pitch in this money. Otherwise, a lot of jobs are going to be lost. However, there were some in other states, some lawmakers who were saying it's not the federal government's job to get into this sort of thing. So the battle lines were drawn. We have a new study out from the Ann Arbor-based Center for Automotive Research. And I say, fellows, this vindicates us. It says the government bailout of both GM and Chrysler saved more than 1.4 million jobs. In other words, without that, all those folks would have been out of work.
Well, General Motors gets to start paying us back today, too, I guess, right, essentially, but the money they're going to raise from this initial public offering.
Yep. And, well, a lot of jobs at stake, obviously, when it comes to the auto industry. We do have jobless numbers statewide out, some fresh stats on our job situation here. The unemployment rate has fallen below 13% for the first time since March of 2009. That according to the Michigan Department of Energy, Labor, and Economic Growth, saying the jobless rate tumbled in October by 0.2% to 12.8%. But we should put a little asterisk next to that, because that 13% really is more like 18%, because as we know, the state no longer counts those who've given up looking.
Let us
So
have a little
always,
good news, won't you, without putting the damper
well,
on
we've
it?
got to make things.
Come
We've got to
on.
make things accurate here. Well, in Kentwood, they were hoping this wouldn't happen, but it's not going to happen, as it turns out.
No
Money-
Christmas in Kentwood?
Yeah, money in short supply. It's the same old, same old. The city announced the annual celebrations will not take place, the big Christmas celebrations that have been a tradition in that part of West Michigan for as long as anybody can remember. And the reason? Budget cuts. The city says none of the usual events will take place, not a single one. Even the tree lighting and the carols, out this year in Kentwood.
Bah, humbug.
Yeah, that's the way it is when it comes to money.
Tell us
nowadays.
something good, would you?
Let's see. Oh, here's something good. This is good. At the Bob in Grand Rapids. That's the big old building there.
Yeah.
A lot of neat stuff. Coming to Grand Rapids, Bill Cosby. He's going to be headlining a multi-day Laugh Fest. It's all part of a fundraiser for Gilda's Club. The fest is set to take place in mid-March between the 10th and 20th, and it will consist of 10 comedians in all out there trying to raise money for a good cause. Details on that big announcement at the Bob in Grand Rapids coming up a little bit later on this morning.
Speaking of Grand Rapids, where we're heard on News Talk 1340 WJRW, they're going to be a celebration at the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel tonight. You know, the fancy hotel right there in downtown?
Yes.
They're going to be celebrating the arrival of the Beaujolais Nouveau 2 at the 1913 room. And they're going to have a traditional French dinner. It'll be paired with the wine. It's a one-of-a-kind dining experience, and it's only $49 per person.
So, Michael Patrick,
That's the cheapest you're ever going to get out of the 1913 room.
Are you going to be flying down 96 after the show for that tonight?
We're having our own. We've invited ourselves to the party right here this morning. It's 6:30 tonight, though, is the start, and 7:15 tonight if you're interested in Grand Rapids. And they're going to have, a roasted rack of lamb, sweet potato custard, and braised veal short ribs. Anybody getting hungry yet?
I am.
Olive oil poached. I should introduce our panel before we get to the break here. So anyway, that's tonight in Grand Rapids, and there are events all over. In fact, Matt Rhodes at Dusty Cellar here in the Lansing area on Grand River, just a little east of the Meridian Mall. You'll be having your annual Beaujolais Nouveau dinner tonight?
We are having it. We kind of now just call it a French wine dinner. We start with Nouveau, but now we do wines from all over France. And luckily for us, that one is sold out tonight.
Sold out tonight. But the wine is not sold out. Can you still get it at the shop?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, we'll start selling it at 7 o'clock this morning when we open, and then actually we're having a wine tasting tonight, which is still open, and we'll have a handful of Beaujolais and a number of other French wines starting at 6:30 tonight.
DustyCellar.com is where you can find that. We're going to go live to France, too, a couple of times this hour, and then my French will truly be tested. Our next panelist is Mike Brenton, who is the wine writer for the Lansing City Pulse. Thanks for being here.
Welcome. I'm Well, I'm glad to be here.
You imagine that's all you do? You just get to write about wine and talk about wine.
I've never done it at 6 a.m. in the morning, however, not even in college.
Well, we're on from 6 till 9, so we're just going to keep on tasting this morning. And our world correspondent, Nikki Hale.
Good morning.
Are you a wino?
Wino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
I am.
affectionate, wino.
Yeah.
I didn't think the
Yeah.
English liked wine. I thought that, that you're sort of a beer crowd.
Beer. I don't like beer, so I'm obviously not 100% English. Clearly.
Okay. And in a third base spot here, my wife, Dr. Christine Teneglia, who is a wino.
Absolutely. It's one of my passions, and I enjoy tasting it on a regular basis.
She built a wine cellar right into her house. This is before me. And I can assure you, ladies and gentlemen, that Dr. Christine's wine cellar is more valuable than my net worth. Because you've collected it from all over the world.
Yes, sir.
So we'll get the palettes going as soon as we get back. We'll go live to France 2 on Beaujolais Nouveau Day. It's Michael Patrick Shields. Merci, mesdames et messieurs. Le Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé. The Beaujolais Nouveau has arrived. The young wine that celebrates the start of the holiday season every year on the third Thursday in November. And we're here with our expert wine panel. We're about to taste it. Matt Rhodes, the owner of Dusty's Cellar. Thank you for providing this wine.
Well, glad to be here.
You haven't had a sneak taste yet, have you?
I have not. This is
You
legitimate first.
really? Okay, because the wine appeared late last night, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they don't allow anybody to sell it early. It has to be 7 a.m. this morning, at least in the East.
Yeah, midnight last night.
Oh, midnight
I don't
last
think
night.
Anybody in Michigan had any midnight parties. Maybe out east there was.
So we'll be first.
First in Michigan, I'm sure.
Other than across the date line and other parts. You're going to experience this first with us right here. Mike Brenton is with us, too, the wine writer for the Lansing City Pulse. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Nikki Hale, world correspondent, and Dr. Christine Teneglia, who has spent a lot of time in Napa and a lot of time tasting wine and so forth. Right out of the barrel every once in a while, huh?
Yes, that's the best way to do it.
Dentist to the stars. Okay. Matt is nice enough to bring me the chapeau that I wear for our annual tasting. So if you're watching on Fox 47, it's got to be tilted just a touch, right? Is that good?
Monseigneur.
Is that right?
Yeah, how very French.
Très magnifique.
Oui.
Turn it
There
a
we
little.
go. There we
Okay.
go. The George DeBoeuf on the front.
Ah, very good. And if you can't see it, Fox 47 television where you live, you can find us on YouTube, and you'll see all this presented on YouTube. And so go to MichiganTalkNetwork.com to connect with that. So you have brought us Matt Rhodes from Dusty's Cellar.
This is
Beaujolais
the
Nouveau.
George DeBoeuf Beaujolais Village Nouveau 2010. So I think it's time to.
He's he's pouring it right now into glasses and passing it around to the expert panel. And we're going to taste this with you and let you know. Now, Mike Brenton, while we're passing these around, well, let's just enjoy the sound. You can hold it right next to the microphone there and hear this wine being poured into the glass. There it is right there. Thank you very much. And, Amanda Wall's going to bring one over here to me. Thank you very much. The point of this this wine, Mike and Matt, first off, I see you swirling it around in your glass. Is that the proper thing to do when you're tasting wine?
It's the proper thing to do. Just release those esters, release those wonderful aromas. Get the air into it. And
I
make
see.
It more complex.
Now, I was told that you should do it in the air, not sliding in on the table. Is that true?
Depends upon one's skill level.
That's what I'm thinking. and what time the night is, right? 'Cause you
Exactly.
don't want to create a rogue wave.
Or what time of the morning it is.
That morning to the morning. And so that gets the air in it. And Dr. Christine, the next thing in a proper tasting, if I'm not mistaken, is to hold the glass up. Is that true, Matt and Mike, too? To look at the, it's not the color, it's, what's the fancy
You
word?
look at the color, you look at the clarity.
Clarity. So what am I looking for right now when I hold the glass up like this?
Put a white background behind it,
Oh, okay, like a
And,
piece of paper, yeah.
like a piece of paper. See whether it's clear, see whether it's cloudy.
Now this is a
the
red
brilliance
wine,
of it.
so does the depth of the red tell you something?
Can tell you something about the concentration of the juice.
Okay.
If it's very translucent, perhaps it's less concentrated. If it's opaque and one can't even see through it, a more concentrated wine.
This is translucent, isn't it?
So I would say this is on
Beaujolais
on the
Nouveau.
lighter side, but a fairly concentrated-looking Beaujolais Nouveau.
But it's supposed to be a light wine because it was only on the vines 2 months ago, right?
That's exactly right. It's light, it's quaffable, it's made to be drunk immediately upon release.
Otherwise, you would never drink wine this young, right?
Almost all wine this young is still in the barrel and will be in the barrel for a lot longer.
Years, right?
Well, not necessarily years. White wines will be released much earlier than red wines, and it really depends upon the nature of the grape and the intention of the winemaker.
This is a wine, I'm told, Matt, for people who maybe aren't used to wine. That's why it appears on the Thanksgiving table, because sometimes people would drink wine only once a year, or maybe they would just do it to be a good sport. It's drinkable, the Beaujolais Nouveau, because it's not too heavy, right?
It's a great way for people who, especially who are not red wine drinkers, to get started because it is so light and, as Mike said, quaffable. And you want to serve it like a half chill on it. You know, most
Oh,
wines
right.
We serve more at cellar temperature. This one will be a little more chill to it. And
Do you keep it in the refrigerator?
what I'd do, I'd either put it in the fridge for 20, 30 minutes and then bring it out, or put it in the fridge and then get it out 20, 30 minutes before you serve it. Either way, you end up with the wine around 55, especially for Nouveau. That's just perfect.
Okay, so it shouldn't be freezing cold. It should just be chilled.
Kind of a half chill, I'd call it.
All right, and now the next thing with the glass is you tilt the glass so that the wine goes up on the side, Dr. Christine, and then you drop it back down so that you can see what's left on the glass, the residue. Is that right?
Well, I think they call those legs. You want to see what the legs are like on the inside of the glass.
Yeah.
And from what I know, the longer and the more the legs stick to the glass, that is indicated that's a good wine.
True, Mike?
I agree.
There are no legs on the Beaujolais Nouveau. I mean, I've tilted the
Very-
glass and
very
tilted
short
back.
legs.
There's nothing there.
Right, this
But-
does not have much.
But that's consistent with how it's supposed to be, right?
It absolutely
We don't
is.
want to be snobby about this. This is a fun wine, after all. And Matt, we don't want to be snobby about wine at all, to tell you the truth, because it intimidates some people, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And Beaujolais, I think, is just a great example in the marketing they've done to make this, introduce wine to so many new people. Great place to start. And, wine's fun. A lot of people overthink it.
They do, and they feel like it's true, Nikki Hale, isn't it? That somebody might think this wine is terrific, and somebody say, "Well, that doesn't suit my taste," and neither one is wrong or right, right?
No, absolutely
If you don't like
not.
it, why drink it?
Yeah, same thing as food. I mean, you like what you like and you dislike what you dislike. And I think for me, this is, I was always a very heavy white wine drinker for many, many years, which a lot of people start off with white wines because they're a little easier on the palate. And easier next day, I find sometimes. But this is definitely a great transition wine to the reds. Although with age, you tend to migrate to reds as well, and that's where I'm at. I've started doing a lot more red wine than white recently. So.
Should we go live to France?
Hey.
Let's go live to France. I wish we could be transported there, but we'll do it virtually now for everyone. Martine is with us from Domaine de Cante, a winery in France. Bonjour.
Yes, bonjour.
Thank you very much. Would you tell us a little bit about this? We call it a frivolous, fun event every year, the release of the Beaujolais Nouveau.
So I can't understand all what you said.
Nobody
But
ever does.
It's a very beautiful fest, and we are very happy to do Beaujolais Nouveau. We are winemaker.
Have you tasted the Beaujolais Nouveau yet today?
Yes, we tested since a long time because when we stop our harvest, we test all our wines to choose the best to make Beaujolais Nouveau.
Do you like this year's Beaujolais Nouveau?
Yes, it is very round, very sweety and empty, and it is very pleasant to drink it.
Would the French ever drink wine just to drink wine, or is it always paired with food?
We drink as an aperitif, and we drink with food, with saucisson. Do you know saucisson?
Oui.
Sausage?
Oui, madame. So we wanted to say hello to you on this special day, the release of the Beaujolais Nouveau, and we greatly appreciate your time this morning. We're glad to hear you like the Beaujolais Nouveau, and we're going to taste it for ourselves right now.
Yeah, it is a special day in all France
All
and
right.
in all the world.
Can you say for me the Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé?
Yes, Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé.
See, thank you very much. Merci, madame. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Thank you very much. That is a lot of fun there. Martine, who is in France. Okay. Do you want to taste it now? Is it ready to be tasted, you think? And before we sip, just explain what tasting means, because now you've looked at the legs and you've gotten some air into it. Oh, no. Before you taste, you should smell it, shouldn't you?
One should absolutely smell it. Just put the nose in the glass. Much of the enjoyment of the wine is in the sniffing, in the aroma, in that overall experience.
So you put your nose right into that glass there, and you breathe in the aroma. It's the bouquet. Is that what it's
The
called?
bouquet or the nose.
What do you think,
This has
Dr.
wonderful
Christine?
sweet fruit.
Yes. I smell raspberry myself.
Isn't it weird? People say, "Well, that wine, I smell banana, or I taste, kiwi fruit." How do you get with kiwi fruit from grapes?
I
Chocolate,
typically don't.
coffee.
Yeah.
So the expert's telling us no when you say kiwi fruit.
Well,
banana.
not this one, but I mean, they'll say grapefruit for Sauvignon Blanc sometimes, right?
Exactly.
I mean, how does that
Especially
happen?
New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, and it really does smell like grapefruit. With Beaujolais Nouveau, very characteristic to have overtones of raspberry, overtones of different red berry fruit. Some people pick up a little bit of an overtone of banana peel in it.
That's
One
what
thing
I'm
with
saying.
Nouveau you can do is you take your glass, and if you put your hand over it and swirl it,
Huh?
and then put your nose in there, I guarantee you it'll smell like a banana.
I'll be damned.
Yeah. So,
Is that only with the Beaujolais Nouveau?
the only one that I know for sure that almost guaranteed every year.
Why would that be?
Well, we'll call France again on that one. I really don't know. But
That's astonishing.
Interesting. I know. I said he guarantees it. Oh, it does.
And it does.
It's a neat
So you put your hand over the top, swirl it around, take your hand off. That's a good party trick for tonight and Thanksgiving and
there we go,
everything,
yeah.
you know?
who's got the banana wine? Yeah.
Fantastic. So, what are you looking for when you smell the wine that way? Just your impression?
Mostly just olfactory enjoyment.
Yeah. And are you just sort of I went to a Scotch tasting once at Glen Eagles in Scotland, and they taught us how to taste Scotch in very much the same way you have a wine, tasting, that you approach it like that. And the fella said you take the glass, he was English, by the way, and you sort of just run it past your nose at the beginning, just to sort of say hello and introduce yourself, and then get to know you a little bit by smelling it that way. Do you really go to that depth of...
I usually just go for it.
Yeah!
We're ready. We're ready. Definitely ready.
Scotch has more aroma to it. You can just pass it by. Wine, I think
You gotta get there.
Get right in there, yeah.
I also had a fella tell me, Nino Cheravino, who lives in Michigan, and he represents wineries in Napa. And he was with me once, and, well, lots of times. We were drinking some wine at Christmas, and he said, "Hey, Shields, you're supposed to sip wine, not gulp it. I know you're Irish, but slow down a little bit."
And there's truth to that.
But we get excited. We get excited. Okay, let us have a cheer to the new Beaujolais Nouveau. Salute and slancha. And a sip.
Just as it should be.
Matt Rhodes says just as it should be. Mike Brenton,
I agree.
he agrees. Nikki
Yes,
Hale,
I like it. It's very good.
Dr. Christine,
I think it's going to go great with Thanksgiving dinner.
fantastic. The Beaujolais Nouveau is available wherever wines are sold for the most part. Matt Rhodes is here, though, from Dusty Cellar. You can find him at dustycellar.com. And it is Michael Patrick Shields, and it's Thursday.
London
20 minutes before the hour on a traditional show for us here. 65 million bottles by the time the frivolous beginning of this Beaujolais Nouveau Day will be swallowed. We have one of them here from Matt Rhodes from Dusty Cellar. It'll be distributed all across the world. And the race is on. What they do, this is the first day by French law that Beaujolais Nouveau can be released and sold. So it's a worldwide race. And that's been carried, I like this, on motorcycles and balloons and trucks and helicopters and the Concorde jet when they used to have that, and elephants and runners and rickshaws to get to the final destination because everybody wants to be first. And Mike Brenton, isn't it true that, or is it true, that you can tell what the wine quality will be like in the coming years from this crop by tasting a young wine like the Beaujolais Nouveau? Is that true?
It helps because the wine is always made in the vineyard. And so the characteristics of the wine is going to be pretty well set by what comes out of that vineyard for the year, whether it's a a wine that's intended to be drunk young, or whether it's a wine that's going to be aged for years and has the intention of being in the cellar.
So, because this wine will actually be the one that isn't turned into the Beaujolais Nouveau will become something else if they keep it longer. Is that true?
They make wine with different processes. There are other versions of Beaujolais that's not Beaujolais Nouveau.
Yes.
Which will have longer aging, different process of fermentation. The Beaujolais Nouveau is made with a process called carbonic maceration, but it's just a very, very different fermentation process. They ferment the whole berries rather than crushing them, and that makes it so that there isn't so much tannin in the wine. And tannin is one of
really?
the things that creates the aging profile for wine. But by doing it in that fashion, it makes for this very fruity, very fruit-forward, as it's called, wine that's intended for young drinking.
Do people really walk around in big wine vats with bare feet smashing the grapes?
Not too much anymore. Some places they actually do.
Yeah.
Now with Beaujolais Nouveau, it's actually still picked by hand rather than
Is
by
that
machine.
right?
That's part of French law for this wine.
Oh, really? Huh. They really look after this tradition, don't
They
they?
absolutely do. It's very important.
Matt Rhodes, how much would a bottle of Beaujolais Nouveau like the one you have in front of you, how much would it cost?
The Beaujolais this year are going to range from $9 to $18. The vast majority are going to be right around $10, but we have a couple special ones, kind of per se single vineyard Nouveaux, which will be a little more expensive.
That's a nice price, and I got to believe this ends up on a lot of Thanksgiving tables, true?
Oh, absolutely, and definitely be on ours, that's for sure. And yeah, it's just what it's meant to be. Drink it young, Thanksgiving right through Christmas, and then kind of carry on to the new vintage in 11.
Our producer, Amanda Wall, Mandy McGarry, some people call her, that's her alias, is going to step over there to Matt Rhodes' microphone. And this, last year, well, she's new to wine. By the way, that's a good point, too, isn't it, Nikki and Christine? The people who have never tasted wine before, this is a nice little starter wine, isn't it?
Oh,
I
absolutely.
mean, if you don't count, what is that pink wine?
White Zinfandel.
Yeah, okay.
I would rather start with Beaujolais Nouveau than White Zinfandel. My recommendation.
Or a California Cooler or whatever
You
it
have
might
to
be.
have a sweet tooth to go with the white Zinfandel, I think.
Yeah, okay, so this is not that sweet. And so
Not
it's a good
bad.
starter wine. Okay. And Amanda's, being welcomed into the world of wine. And last year when you tasted the Beaujolais Nouveau, you made a funny face.
I
and
did make a funny face.
Matt Rhodes has asked, now could you please not make the
I will
funny face?
do my best, I promise.
But there was a reason you made a funny face last year.
There was. I actually had Icebreaker's gum in my mouth at the time that I had tasted it, not knowing that you should not have wine and gum together.
Mike Brenton, I'm not an expert, but I'm thinking you probably shouldn't have gum in your mouth when you taste
That is
wine.
guaranteed to make the wine taste sour.
And Dr. Christine, you shouldn't maybe have just brushed your teeth and taken mouthwash because you'd destroy your palate, wouldn't you?
Correct. You don't want to do that. But what I can recommend is just brushing your teeth without any toothpaste. Just the mechanical action of the toothpaste or toothbrush is all that you really need.
Is that true?
For
How
good
can
dental
that
health.
be?
Absolutely.
You don't need toothpaste?
You don't really need toothpaste. It's just there to give you freshness and, it's
Water
abrasive
and a
to help.
toothbrush will do it? And you'll still have good breath?
Well, that depends on what you ate the night before.
I'm not taking any chances. All right, so Amanda Wall, you don't have any gum in your mouth or chewing tobacco or anything like that?
No gum in my mouth, no.
Okay, no Fruity Pebbles left from this morning's breakfast or
No,
anything?
no
Okay.
Fruity Pebbles.
Well, let's see. Why don't you have a sip then? This is a young person's perspective. She's 23 years old.
She didn't
No
take. She,
face this year.
What do you think? What does it taste like?
It tastes like fermented grapes. I'm kind of getting that sense.
Okay. Mike Brenton, she's stepping out on that one.
She absolutely is.
Could you make it through a glass of that, you think?
It's kind of strong.
Is
but-
it?
Well, for me, I'm not a big drinker to begin with, so I'm learning. I'm being welcomed into the world of spirits. as they would
And it
say.
is early.
And her husband, Mike, takes her to Catholic Mass every once in a while. Did you drink the wine at church?
I'm not allowed to take communion because
Oh,
I'm
that's
not
right.
Catholic.
All right, she hasn't joined the club yet. But anyway, cheers to the Beaujolais Nouveau released. We're among the first in America, I got to believe, at this hour of the morning to be drinking wine. Cheers to all of you. And we got a call from a nice viewer and listener who said this is such a pleasant thing to see and hear on the radio at this hour of the morning. So we're going to toast her. Cheers to you, and thanks for calling in and saying that. This is the day the Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé. We'll go live to France, too, for another report from where this wine comes in just a few minutes. It is the day the Beaujolais Nouveau has arrived, and my son Harrison, he's 13. You 14 now or 13? 14. You're growing up fast. People seem to like it when you appear on the television on Fox 47 and on the radio, so I thought I'd say hello to you this morning, young man.
Oh, well, thank you.
Now, you told me last year there's some place you really want to go. I said, where do you want to go on vacation? You want to go to Disney World or where do you want to go? And you said there was a place in Europe that you really wanted to go.
That was Paris.
Why do you want to go to Paris?
I've just seen it in movies a lot, and it just looks really nice.
Interesting for a 14-year-old, isn't it, to choose Paris as a place to go?
Very wise.
Very well. We're going to go virtually live right now to France, and it's Jan Borajal, the export director for North America, for Les Vignes Georges Duboeuf. Good morning and happy Beaujolais Nouveau Day to you.
Well, good morning to you, and a happy Beaujolais Nouveau Day as well.
Why is this such a celebrated and fun day?
It's a long tradition in France. I think it dates back 60, 70 years ago when people, when glass bottles were actually a luxury and people were taking their wine from the barrel, and by the time you get to the end of the barrel at the end of the year, well, the wine didn't taste good, or even worse, there was no wine anymore, and they were so happy to get the new wine that it was a great cause for celebration.
What is the most elaborate example of somebody celebrating this Beaujolais Nouveau? I understand that they send it by rickshaw and Concorde jet and all that sort of thing. Does one come to mind?
Well, we've done everything, I think, over the years. It's our 27th anniversary in the U.S. We've done the double-decker bus, the Easy Rider sort of thing on the Harley Davidson. Extremes. I think 2 years ago there was some ladies in Japan, having a bath in tubs of Beaujolais Nouveau. So that was sort of extreme.
How about Harrison? How about if we had Beaujolais Nouveau? What about on the top of the Eiffel Tower?
No, that would be great. That would be great. And there is a restaurant on top of the Eiffel Tower, and I'm fairly sure they're pouring some Beaujolais Nouveau right now.
Probably right now. We're pouring it early in the morning here in Michigan in the United States because we like to celebrate it because there is to us the fact that it sort of kicks off the holiday season. That's undeniable, isn't it?
No, this is a great wine. Actually, this is a great point because it's such a nice wine to pair with turkey and all the trimmings, especially things that are made with cranberry. It's a soft, easy drinking wine, so it's really one of the things you will make a lot of friends with.
Yeah, wine and friends go well together. Do we have a group of friends assembled here today? Now, my French is petite, shall we say, but can you tell me in full French the way that you announce Le Beaujolais Nouveau has arrived? Would you give us that in full-on French, if you would, sir?
Le Beaujolais Nouveau est arrivé.
Beautiful. Merci beaucoup. Happy Beaujolais Nouveau Day. And how will you celebrate today?
Well, the reason I have sort of enough voice is because we just celebrated the release on midnight in Chicago last night. So that was quite an event. We have several events in the U.S. We have actually several events in Michigan. From what I understand, there is a great tasting in Grand Rapids at the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel. If you are ever in the area today.
That's tonight,
There's going to be some wonderful wines, not only Beaujolais Nouveau from Duboeuf, but also some of the crus that are not as well known, but extremely high quality wines. So this will be a grand event, and I'm sure a lot of the retailers will offer tastings today. I mean, this is the day, really. So.
Merci
Yeah.
beaucoup, mon ami. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Fair enough. I guess I got that one right there. Matt Rhodes is having a tasting tonight, too, at Dusty's Cellar of the Beaujolais Nouveau, but you can go to the shop and get it this morning if you want. Will you run out?
We typically sell out just before Christmas.
And this year, why don't we dedicate this Beaujolais Nouveau show to your father who passed away, Dusty Rhodes? Can you tell us a little about what he taught you about wine and just about him in general?
Well, actually, the Nouveau and the gentleman from Dubuque just mentioned 27 years ago, and we did have our Beaujolais party, first one 27 years ago, and that was before we had a restaurant, and so we had our dinner down the street at Pistachios. So Dusty created the flag of Beaujolais. We just picked a random flag out of the store, and we told the Channel 6 that it was the flag of Beaujolais. And my brother and I and my sister's boyfriend, we ran a relay race from Dusty's down to Pistachio, the flag of Beaujolais, while we carried a bottle of Beaujolais. So that was Dusty's introduction to Michigan for Beaujolais Nouveau. So we got caught up in it and done it ever since.
He taught you how to live it up, it sounds like, huh?
Absolutely. No, it's yes, our first Nouveau without Dusty, so we'll have to raise a glass to Dusty today.
Here it is. Let's do it right now. To the late Dusty Rhodes, who lives on forever in our hearts, as will this Beaujolais Nouveau. Thanks to all of you who helped us celebrate today. Matt Rhodes, DustyCellar.com, anywhere in the state or on Grand River, a little east of the Meridian Mall.
Cheers, Michael. Thank you.
Merci, mon ami. Mike Brenton, the wine writer for Lansing City Pulse. Will we read about Beaujolais Nouveau in the newspaper?
Most likely next time.
It's very good, and the paper is free in something like 400 locations around the city. World correspondent Nikki Hale, cheers to you.
Thank you, and have a fabulous trip today.
Thank you very much. Dr. Christine Teneglia with the best wine cellar that I know of because it's right inside our house. I love you, and thank you very much. And Harrison, you got a few years to go yet before you can taste the Beaujolais Nouveau. But we'll get it there sooner or later. And one day, I promise, we'll have a glass on top of the Eiffel Tower if you'll go. Thank you very much. It's Michael Patrick Shields all across Michigan.